Welcome everybody to the Reading Nest. I'm Patrick, and today I've got a special guest for you who's helping kids and grown-ups who love them understand big feelings in a special way. She's a licensed mental health counselor and educator. So thank you for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me too.
Glad
to be here.
Thank you. So I want to, before we dive into like the book and like all of the emotions that you're going to explore into the series, because I'm excited, like looking at this series and know like, oh, this is just the first book of this entire wheel of emotions that we can go through. I wanted to start with you. You built this incredible career. Like you help children, you help families. Like you have a course that is a therapeutic course part of your life. But who is Deana? Deana. Who is Deana? Sorry about that.
Okay, Deana. No, actually, I get that almost every day because I'm a twin. And when we were born, we were mixed up at birth. And they gave me my twin sister's name. So they mixed our names up. And so every day, I always have to say, it's Deana, not Deana. And she got the easier name. I'll say she's Dawn. So I always, that's just, yeah, it's funny. Because I'm like, and my mom's like, oh, sorry about that. But it does look like Deana, and it's Deana, and I get it a lot. But yeah, I'm a twin, and thank you. I'm now a children's author, but prior to becoming a children's author, let's say I'm also a wife and a mom to two wonderful adult boys, whom I mentioned before we started recording. I read to them all their whole lives growing up. And I have a library of books, a library of children's books, because I love children's books. And I'm blessed to have a lot of them. I used to go to yard sales wherever I could find them. And I would literally like buy, I'll take the whole case for $5.
Yeah. They're very rare to find. Children's books, like the old children's books, are very rare to find now. So, like, when you find them in yard sales, like, get them. Because you'll never know you're going to see them again.
I so agree with that. I used to love it. It was one of my favorite things, even before my first son, who was born, whose name is Patrick. Before he was born, I was buying children's books in anticipation of reading to him. And it, reading to me is just so fundamental. And it's one of the best things that parents, grandparents, adults can do for children. Story time, any time of the day. Our story time was at night, though. Ours was always at night. It was like an hour long, every single night. But I'm a mom, as I said, and some of the things I like to do, I'm a runner. I try. I like to work out. That's one of my really good coping skills is walking or running.
That's right.
Because I always say emotions need motion. And so we all need really good.
That's why I work out in the morning every day at 5:30, because that is like my regulation of my own emotions for the day.
Yeah, to get your day started, right?
Yep,
I love that. Yeah, so emotions need motion, and so I do run, I do walk, I do like to work out as well. But there's other ways too to move those emotions through writing and journaling and lots of other things, which I incorporate in all my books. So as you mentioned, I'm also an educator. I still do teach at 2 universities. So I'm still teaching on the side. And I am a licensed mental health counselor. And I had the privilege of, when I decided to go back for my second master's, I have 2 master's degrees, I went back to go into clinical mental health. And before I did that, I said, let me make sure this is really what I want to do. That was always in the back of my mind from a very young age, is to help people. But I kept pushing it aside. I was like, no. And then later in life, I felt like the need to come back to it and get a second master's degree in clinical mental health. And I had the privilege of making sure I wanted to do it. So I volunteered at the suicide hotline. So I did that for about a year just to make sure that this is what I want to do. I started classes and then I got my degree. And during that time, I wanted to do therapy, but I didn't want to do your typical talk therapy behind a desk, which is good. It's great for a lot of people. Wanted to do something different and something like art therapy, which I do as well with my clients. But I met a girl who was doing equine therapy. And equine therapy is just another word for horse therapy. Mm-hmm. And so that was the beginning of me researching and then volunteering for a couple of years at different horse places doing equine therapy. Mm-hmm. As you mentioned, it's the kind of really crux of my books, because I bring in my real life horse, who I see that you have right down there beside you, the book, and her friend, her wisecracking friend, Bird, who actually is real as well.
I know, I read that in your bio, and I was like, that is so cool. Like, you incorporate this bird that just happens so to live in your horse's stall, and I'm like, this is kind of cool. Like, why not incorporate the world into everybody else's world?
Yeah, in nature, I feel nature is just in general calming. Mm-hmm. So, having the nature Bella, in the pasture scenes in the book, and then incorporate. I needed a wisecracker. My books are so heavy; they're heavily focused. Mm-hmm. Emotions are a heavy thing, yes. Right? So how can we bring the idea of emotional intelligence and these big emotions and their underlying feelings into the classrooms and into our homes? Yes. But also do it in a really fun and wisecracking way, which is how Bird was born.
Yep, and I love Bird. Yeah. That Bird is funny. So, what inspired you to turn this journey with your horse into a book series?
Yeah, so that's an entire story in and of itself. It's amazing how things do really unfold in life when we can look back and reflect and kind of see how things have unfolded. I never went out to be a children's author at all. I wanted to do therapy with my horse Bella. When I became licensed and I volunteered for a couple of years at some horse places to get a feel for equine therapy, I also got certified in 2 different equine certifications, which is very important. Because if you do equine therapy, you have to be a licensed mental health counselor and certified in different either Arch or EGALA. Those are the 2. There's others out there. So you want to be certified because equine therapy, you're talking about a very large animal. Mm-hmm. And, you have to practice it in a right way. So with those 2 certifications, there's a licensed mental health therapist, and then there's an equine specialist, a horse specialist there too, who's there for safety reasons. Mm-hmm. So when I was volunteering, I found all of this out. I got my certifications. Then I needed to find a horse. And I researched all different kinds of horses, which would be the best for equine therapy. I mean, honestly, I think they all are great. But I wanted to make sure that I never owned a horse. I had to learn all about that. So I wanted to make sure that the horse I chose, that I researched, was a very docile, family-friendly horse. And so back in 2022, this was very recent, I was researching horses and came across a kind of horse called the Gypsy Vanner. So the Gypsy Vanners are called that in the United States, but they're bred, they were originally bred in the UK. And they're a fairly new breed, and they were bred intentionally for the Romani gypsies who have caravans. And they intentionally made this breed of horses because they live as part of the family unit. And so once I found all that out, I said, that's the horse. That's the horse that I love. So I did more research. I learned that the first Gypsy Vanner was flown over from the UK in 1996. And so again, they're very new
to the States as well.
Yeah, they're very new. They're very rare. You don't see them very often. So when people do see Bella and other gypsies, they're always, what's this? Because they have very beautiful feathering on their feet. They call it feathering. And very long, beautiful manes. So I did the research, and Bella was up for adoption in Southern California. And so I live in Southwest Florida. And so I decided that I wanted to adopt her. She was 15 at the time. So I made the arrangements to have her trailered or transported across the country, essentially. Yeah. She came all the way from Southern California all the way to Southwest Florida. And that took about a week. And she arrived early. She wasn't supposed to arrive until after what happened. So she arrived early, and about a week later, less than a week later, what happened was Hurricane Ian hit our island directly, our tiny little island. And so Bella was only on the island for a few days and getting acclimated with her new herd of friends. And we got notice that this hurricane is coming, but we only were notified on the island about 17 hours prior, because Hurricane Ian was supposed to go out and up to Tampa. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it was supposed to hit Tampa, but as with lots of things in life, unexpected things happen. And at the last hour, it turned and it hit us directly in the Fort Myers,
I remember that,
in the Fort Myers, Cape Coral, in the Pine Island area, which is where Bella lived. And so, again, she wasn't supposed to be there. She got there early, and she endured. Thankfully, she survived. So that was a very major, catastrophic hurricane that happened. And shortly after, a couple days after the hurricane happened, we had no access to the island. The bridge was out. So the bridge was out for about 17 days. So all food, all water, every resource had to be boated in. But it was so catastrophic. It's still being rebuilt even after 3 years. Yeah. So shortly after that, I kept thinking about Bella and how she just made this journey across the country, and I was feeling a wave of emotions and feelings with the hurricane, as often happens.
Yeah, I can only imagine how you feel like Bella's here alone, like she's new, like I can't even go comfort her.
Yeah, and I was able to be there after the hurricane because I happened to be out of town for a couple days doing a triathlon. And it was my first triathlon in New Jersey. And so and again, she wasn't supposed to be there. She arrived early. So we flew for the triathlon, and on that Sunday, the hurricane hit on Tuesday. So I tried to get back as quickly as I could. As you can imagine, the airports were closed, but I got there as quickly as I could, drove across from Miami all the way to the island. And, I kept thinking our house was totally damaged. The whole town the community really, really, really was impacted. And I kept thinking about Bella, but I also thought about the children and the adults. Like, I was having a hard time, managing everything. It was a rough time. And I thought, gosh, this is so difficult. A very catastrophic event. And so I originally sat down and wrote about Bella's journey. It was her journey coming from Southern California and her resiliency, because she was so resilient. Again, thankfully she survived, but she was very resilient. And then after looking at different things, talking to an author who gave me an editor, we talked about it, and she said, you have so much in this book about Bella's journey that I really think you need to go back and do a series and focus on one emotion at a time. But not Bella's journey. You need to have Bella, because I said, I want Bella to be the equine therapist in the book. So it has nothing to do about Bella's journey across the country. Instead, the first book on anger, it has Bella as the equine therapist, who's the guide, who's the wise guide. And then Bird is her wisecracking sidekick. And then each book has a different character. And the first character in the book is Henry. And each character is 8 years old, so I focus it on an 8-year-old.
Wow, that's all my 8-year-olds right now that are in 3rd grade. They are feeling all the emotions right now.
Yeah, right, yeah. Goodness. And so, I just started writing about anger, and I took little pieces of obviously, I think authors do this, I'm learning that we do take from our experiences, right? Our own personal experiences. So I thought, well, what can Henry, little 8-year-old boy, be angry about? I mean, he could be angry about a lot of things. But I had to make it universal. So in each of the books with the emotions, it's a universal, I'll say, event that happens that most kids and adults can relate to. So with Henry, he's angry because he can't get something that he wants, and that's pie. That's his favorite pie. And so who doesn't get angry when they can't have first their favorite pie?
I know. I was like, man, he's so angry about this pie. But in the end, I'm like, he just needed to ask what the pie is for. That's all.
And for his mom had to come.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. I was like, this could have been this could have been solved so easily. But I think it was a great idea of this book of miscommunication as well, because most children don't understand the way adults communicate. Can you hear me now? Oh. Hold on. Sorry, everybody. We're having difficulties right now.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there you are. Yeah.
Yay. Okay, yay. I think it turned itself off. Sorry, everybody. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, miscommunication. Yep.
Yeah. So it's like adults, children don't understand adult miscommunication, so it is a lot of miscommunication in it, and it does make. I will take. Oh. I think I'm back.
There you are.
I'm back. I just think miscommunication between adults and children happens very often because they don't understand how we communicate. And sometimes we don't understand that we need to communicate everything to them. So this is a perfect book of how anger is established in a child's mind and how that
Yeah, and also how an adult does. So when Henry gets mad, because she just says, no, you can't have a piece. And how often do we say that as parents? Like, no, you can't. But we don't go into the explanation. Mm-hmm. We don't explain it. We're just we're preoccupied, or we're not understanding to communicate clearly, And even if she did communicate clearly, Henry might have still got so mad and thrown his truck as he did.
Yeah.
And lands in the dog's bowl, but too bad that wasn't the pie, because that would have been one lucky dog.
Oh man, yeah.
But that's so important. I'm so glad you recognize that, because it is just almost everything when it comes to relationships it narrows down to communication. Mm-hmm. Almost everything comes down to communication. And we misunderstand it. We're not communicating properly. And so, yeah, that was a big thing. So I had to come up with this idea of, well, what's universal that kids and parents can relate to? It's about maybe not getting something that you really want.
I noticed in the book that you had a lot of different tools for them to use to process anger. The box breathing. That is a tool that I use in my everyday life, even when I'm feeling an anxious moment coming on or anything. I do a lot of box breathing. And I'm trying to teach my students how to do box breathing. I even bought a little light. I think it's a little glow light, and you press the button and it breathes with you and it breathes out with you. And just to see that little tool, I'm like, this is just a tool that some parents don't even know to use, and you put it in your book for a parent to say, oh wow, I can just teach them how to do this while I'm reading the book.
Yeah,
what
exactly.
Do you have more tools to share with us as the book series go on? Because there's tools that I don't even know for other emotions that I deal with every day, and I'm excited to see what other tools you have to offer.
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked. So yes, every book has about 3. And I thought, is that too many? But when you follow the storyline, it is pretty typical of anger, to begin with anger. It's pretty typical where, so I start with box breathing for anger because we need to first calm Henry down, right? So before we can even have this conversation of how to better manage your anger, Henry first has to feel calm. And so that's why I start with the box breathing, a very simple, and it's a built-in tool. We all have the ability to box breathe because it's built into us. What a God-given tool, right? So it's built in, where we have it. We just have to learn to use it and remember to use it. The pause is so important to say, okay, I need to box breathe. I have a breathing exercise in every one of my books. It's just they're slightly different. So, for example, in the sadness book, which is coming out soon.
Yeah, that's your next book that's coming out, which I'm excited about.
Yeah. You would think, why do I need to breathe with sadness? Well, the reason is because before we can begin to have a conversation, because the books really are conversations, you start and you move along a conversation. I'm hoping to teach parents and adults that as well. Molly needs to feel a little lighter. And so sadness can feel very heavy. And so in the sadness book, Bird plucks a feather, and they teach her how to feather breathe. And it's so she could feel just a little lighter. It's not something that, I feel great, that's why there's multiple tools. Coming back to the anger book, Henry feels very angry, so let's first give him a calming exercise, which is that simple box breathing. And then he says, I feel calmer. But then he goes, a few minutes later, he's like clenching his fist. He's like, I'm getting angry again, and that's typical, right?
Typical.
So that's the funny thing about emotions is that they fluctuate like that up and down, and they do it not even like every day, but like every hour, and they could do it every few minutes. It depends on what's happening, right? So they fluctuate often. And depending on what's happening in our lives and what we're thinking. So Henry gets angry again, so I give him another tool. And then in every book, I introduce children and adults to the emotion wheel.
Yes. And the funny thing about the emotion wheel, it's cut up into pies, and the story is about a pie, and I was like, this is so awesome that all of that's incorporated as to the pie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the emotion wheel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep going about the emotion wheel.
Yeah, so, no offense to anyone who's created an emotion wheel, but there are a lot of bad emotion wheels out there. And I didn't create the concept of the emotion wheel, it was created a long time ago, and it wasn't even a wheel, it was more like an octagon, but, and that's great, but it was created for adults. And so over the years, people have tried to create it for children. There's some good ones out there. But I wanted to create mine specifically for the Bella and Bird, the Emotion Explorers series. And a lot of times when you see an emotion wheel, so the emotion wheel, as you mentioned, has the slices, and it has the emotions. And when we feel something, the first thing we're feeling is physiological in our body. And that's an emotion. So it's almost like what came first, the chicken or the egg. When it comes to emotions and feelings, what comes first, the emotion or the feeling?
Yeah.
And so the emotion happens first. It's the physiological, we feel it. And then we have those underlying feelings that happen with the underlying feelings like Henry being frustrated. He's really frustrated, and that caused him to throw the truck. But the emotion wheel has the emotions in it, and then each emotion has those underlying feelings to teach children and adults the emotional literacy part of it. And that's emotional literacy. It's giving them the words to express how they feel.
I do have a question. You use a lot of, instead of do like social-emotional learning aspect of it, you do a lot of the emotional intelligence of it. And I think that is a key piece in your book series, is that I'm going to give you the intellect on how to deal with these emotions versus you're learning from these emotions, but we're going to also teach you the science behind the emotion and how it's not just anger you're feeling there's other things inside of anger that you're feeling besides this. And so that's also like how I see this whole series of like teaching them you're becoming more intellectual about your emotions versus us always learning from them because they always come back.
Oh gosh, Patrick, that is so excellent. Yes, exactly. The whole framework of the book series is emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence, you don't hear that word often. You hear a lot of social emotional learning, but you don't hear emotional intelligence. And I think every school needs to incorporate the lessons of emotional intelligence. And I think that's the key. Emotional intelligence is the key to leaders. It's the key to healthy relationships. It's the key to not only understanding ourselves, which can often just be taught in social emotional learning, but it's the key to being aware of others as well. You know, what others, we don't know what they're feeling, but we can tap into being more aware of how our feelings and emotions are affecting others. And emotional intelligence builds resiliency. So that's the other factor, builds the resiliency. And it's often taught in corporations. They'll bring in emotional intelligence experts to teach it to adults. And yet we got to tap into our young minds and teach it at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds.
And we can have better adults who do it sooner.
Not try to change an adult, right? And so it needs to be done at such an early age, and that's why you nicely connected. The tools are building emotional intelligence, hopefully planting lifelong seeds so that they can tap into it as they get older, especially the teen years, and then they get a little bit older and they just are tapping into what they learned so early on about, their emotional intelligence.
What has been the most surprising feedback about your book?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say you kind of tapped into it, which was how these books are educational in nature, and they're educational in nature. And I think that generational. We have a generation of children who are not capable or not able or not being taught reading longer books. Almost like I believe in the young kids. I really believe in them.
Yes.
But I think that I'm not sure what's happening where authors may have to be forced to write in simpler and shorter and easier sentences. And I believe that kids can learn very young. And part of it is that my understanding is that they don't sit for it. And I think it's kind of twofold. I think that we have become a society of people who have so much information thrown at us, and we do get distracted, and we do want smaller bits of information. But I don't think because we want that's necessarily that we give in to that. Because I think reading is so essential, and if we could teach kids to sit and to read through a simple 10-minute book, right?
I was just talking to a kid today. He's like, I gotta read a paragraph. I was like, it's 5 sentences.
Yes.
It's 5 sentences. I'm like, you know how many books like I read as a child that I loved, and now they've reading this Dog Man series, which are all these comic book series. I'm like, but that's not teaching them to sit long enough to dive into a chapter and understand a book.
Right, and have the book come to life in their mind.
Yeah. It's all given for them. Like, they don't have... My biggest thing is creativity and imagination. Like, where has it gone with some kids? They're like, I'm bored. I'm like, what are you bored from? Be creative. Get some imagination. Like, we're not just playing video games and watching social media videos.
yeah, and some of that is immerse yourself in a book. So I think some of my feedback was, oh, this is long text blocks for my child. And thinking, for your child or you or for both, because really you should be able to sit down and read already. And it's I feel like we could do better, and I hope that my books can offer that, because I think it's a fantastic. You're giving your kids. We talked about this before we came on, like the gift of sitting and reading and being immersed in a story, and then learning too. You're learning. Yeah. There's tools in that, and there's no other way. I mean, when you look at my books, it's a heavy topic again. So you see a lot of books on emotions and feelings, but they don't give them the tools, and the tools aren't there because my books are a little bit longer, and not longer, but more. They're
tools. You literally have written tools for parents to teach themselves and their kids. These are tools that you've made a story.
Yeah, the book is a tool, and inside the book are tools.
That's great. And just to sit through a book is a connection time with the parent, a connection time with your child, and both of you guys are learning something together that you probably didn't know how to do before.
Yeah, and even if they did, they're like, oh, this is a great reinforcement, and this is good to reinforce. And I love, because I think kids can also say to mom and dad or whomever, you're getting angry, don't forget to box read. So it goes both. When you read it together, both the adult and child can remind.
Yeah, they can remind each other. Thank you for sharing all of this with us. I've been talking about your book for 2 weeks. Since I've gotten your book, I think everybody I say I'm interviewing this author on Wednesday, and I've told them everybody about this book, and I'm excited to share more about your books, because these are tools and resources. Even schools, I think, need to have these books in them, because some schools don't have licensed therapists or social workers or any counselors in there with them to help their students. And I think these would be great tools for teachers and even other leaders in the building to have to share. So thank you for writing these. These are excellent books. I am excited to hear about. I know Sadness is your next book, and I'm excited to see Sadness, because I also love what's the movie? Inside Out. And that was I can actually now have a book about this. and tell my kids, these are the books that go with each, this is anger. Now read a story about a kid with anger, and how can you learn from this book?
Yeah. And if you haven't already, on my website, each of my books have curriculum, and it's on the website for free. So you can get it on the website if you're a teacher, or any teachers out there, or any parents who want curriculum. So I do have the curriculum on there for the anger book, as well as some fun activities.
Yeah. Can you tell everybody about your website and where they can find your book?
Yeah, so it's bellabirdbooks.com. bellabirdbooks.com. And again, there's lots of resources. You can get the emotion wheel. You can download that. The box breathing you can download. There's 2 activities for the anger book for Henry, and there's the curriculum on there as well.
Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us today. And it's the incredible work that you're doing is really going to change a lot of hearts, and hopefully families around you, around me, because I'm going to continue to spread your name and your books, because I think these are great books, especially because it's a horse in it, and most books don't have about a therapy horse in it. It's
real
great.
Horse.
And it's a real horse that you have, so that's great. And it's a beautiful way to teach them about their feelings and emotions. So thank you for joining us today. And to everyone listening, make sure you grab your copy of Bella and Bird Explore Anger. The first character is Henry, and the next book is Bella and Bird Explore Sadness. And you can get your book at bellabirdbooks.com. I'm Patrick. Thank you for joining me here at The Nest. Until next time. Bye.